Hey guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here. Today I'm back with another Moon Knight review, episode 3. Now, Moon Knight, this episode compared to the last two, has the most action and I would consider the most comic book oriented feeling episode out of them all. Because the first two episodes, especially the first episode, didn't feel like a titular, comic book. It was more in depth. It felt more like a psychological thriller and drama and stuff. Whereas this one is more directly, comic book based, where it's just pure action and a big story, like a big villain arc and stuff, and trying to defeat the villain. So that's what it felt like more like. Now I know a lot of people like the action aspect, and I do love action in shows and stuff. But the thing is, I feel like a lot of people are going to focus way too much on the action. The action is important, but for me, the most interesting part is Steven slash Mark going through their mental issues and trying to deal with it and trying to deal with coexisting with each other and how that ordeal goes around. Because this stuff is interesting, the fights, but I do like the more in-depth stuff because those type of episodes is more of a character analysis and we get to understand the character better. Whereas this one we just get to see the character in action, which is still interesting, but I just enjoyed those type of episodes more. But this episode was pretty good. It forwarded along the plot quite a bit. Now it basically started off with Mark in his hotel room drinking and stuff, and then I forgot if he got transported or he moved and he was finding the guys these two it was three believers of Ahmed, and it was part of the cult, and he was trying to beat them and stop them. Now I heard somebody online. Someone made a YouTube video saying people didn't notice that this is a third personality identity for Mark. This is not Mark. This is third identity. But it was definitely Mark. It was not any other character. That was Mark. Though there is an argument to be had for a third personality appearing in this episode. It's just that image that this shown in the ending of the episode 2. I forgot what YouTube channel was. They went with, this is his third personality, but when you see the episode, it's only his Mark personality. It's not a third personality that has been shown. But yeah, he's fighting these guys. He's beating them up. It's really good action. I was kind of commentating a little bit the fighting itself. I was like, okay, he did an inside leg kick. He did a double block. He did a hand trap. And then he did a hook. And I was just analyzing everything. But yeah, the fighting looked pretty good. It looked pretty clean. He was about to kill the guy. One of them was a kid, so he didn't want to hit him, which is understandable. The other one was a guy that he had like a blade to his throat, and he was about to just kill him because he's an assassin or a Marxist or Marxist. No, he's an assassin and stuff. So he's used to that, but Steve is not. And Steve, even if the person is bad, does not want their blood on his hands. Like I said, he's kind of like a pure soul. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. He's a gentle guy. The only time I actually see him be aggressive is with his other side. When it's with anybody else, he's very timid. But when it comes to him, he's like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do this. But yeah, he's something like, don't kill him, please don't get your blood on our hands and stuff like that. And it does stop at Mark. So even though Mark is an assassin or a mercenary and stuff, he does have a conscience. And obviously he created Steve. That's one of his bigger, more of his conscious side. But even in his Mark state, he kind of was contemplating on killing him or not. Obviously he didn't hurt the kid. He didn't want to hurt him. And the guy, even though Steve kind of was the one stopping him, he had the choice not to listen. He could have simply just followed through with it. But he chose to stop, and then he started shaking, and then he disappeared, and then it just moves forward, which is weird because we've never seen it happen to Mark. We assume that doesn't happen to Mark, that since Mark has such a great control since he was the main guy, that whenever there's the switch with Steve lags and he loses memory because the other person does the work. Whereas Mark, I assumed at least that didn't happen with him, that he was conscious while he was in his mind. And when he would obviously be conscious when he's in the driver's seat, but then when he was taken back, he was just conscious in the mind, looking at everything he was doing, just not intervening. But in this one, it showed that he also was missing it, which is weird because I thought once when he goes to his other personas, especially like Steve, that he would have his memory. But this does hint at the potential third memory in his head. I know there's multiple other versions of him. I have a feeling that by the end of this show, there's probably be like 4 or 5 different personalities. Personally, I think the more personalities they put into it, the more interesting it will be. The only thing that it becomes a problem is it's going to be harder to keep in check for that. And as an actor, I think that would be quite complicating to do. To like, you're playing specifically one character, but you have to play 5 different personas of that character, and you have to act accordingly to them. That would be very hard. But yeah, he shifted, and he not only did not remember, but he stabbed the guy in the chest, and they're in like another place and stuff. Or no, he ends up in a taxi, and he's like, "What the hell?" And he actually starts speaking Arabic. The guy's like, "Hey, you said you couldn't speak Arabic, you liar!" And he sees those guys, and they're like, "Just leave us alone," because I'm pretty sure like Steve let them go. He's like, "Go to the hospital, don't do this," and then he's like, he wanted to get the answers because he's like, letting them go is not going to help out. So he goes, tries to track them down, and then he once again blanks out, and then he has the knife in his stomach. He's like, "Steve, why did we do this?" And I was like, I mean not Steve, Stevie. But when he stabs him in the chest, I was like, wait, Steven would never do that. That's weird. Why would he get violent? He's the one that's telling him, hey, none of this violent stuff. So it's weird for me to see that. And then this is where the hint of a third personality is. Because obviously Mark didn't do it, we saw that. And Steve's not a person to do something like that. So it has to be a third person. And it can't be Khonshu. People say Khonshu's the other. Khonshu's not conscious of, of Mark at all. He is simply just like, the godly guardian who controls it and gives him the power. He has nothing to do with his mental psyche. People keep on saying that that's like his third personality or something. No, he's not a personality. He is connected to Mark, but he's not a personality of his. Like, you see him on the outside, so it's not even the same thing. That part doesn't make sense. But yeah, he stabs himself. I'm just like, okay, they have other ones. And that's good because the journey between Steve and Mark, now that they recognize each other, there is more of a bond getting paired up, because now Mark, even though he wants to kill these people, he's kind of like contemplating on not doing it because of Steven. And he's even talking about like giving him his body, and they have a lot of arguing back and forth. Though I do like his character of Steven, I do find him annoying at times. I'm just like, dude, he's in a big situation. I get it, you don't want to kill people, but these situations require some violence. They require him to go to certain extremes. And the fact that you're saying, don't do this, like, well, how is he supposed to handle this threat? What if he lets it go and the person, I mean, he has his powers, but what if they hurt him or something? It's just idiotic to think that way. And I get it, this is just not the life that he's a part of. But still, it's like, every time he shows up, I'm like, dude, I like you, but shut up. You're making this worse. He has the right mindset, and you're adding in your information, especially in the worst times. He's in the middle of it. Because like when he had the knife to the guy's throat and he was talking to the middle of him, the guy started hitting him. So he's just like, come on, just stay out of his business when he's, dealing with some hand-to-hand fight. If you want to talk about it beforehand or after, that's fine. But in the middle of the fight, that's when he needs his focus. And him just jumping in, it doesn't help out. Though I do think it's interesting when they do it, him and through any reflection. And it is quite an interesting character, comparison and stuff and, interaction. Because his other side doesn't want to do that. So you see this little back and forth between him and his own mind. But still, it's like, come on, man. You know the situation. You know the severity of the threat. Why the hell are you being so difficult? Like, just let him go. Just let him do his thing. He knows what he's doing. You're just making the situation worse. And if I'm being honest, he keeps on saying he wants to save a body. I'm just like, well, you can't handle this threat. So yeah, that happens. The kid, he's holding him up, and Khonshu told him to just threaten him, hold him over the cliff. He didn't even want to do it. And then the kid just cuts his scarf and lets himself drop and die, which it makes sense. Usually cults will be, crazy enough to let themselves die for the cause. So yeah, fighting against these guys, he knows now that what they're willing to do. So if he does get to fight them, trying to get the information is not going to be simple. So he's either going to have to, kill them, or they're going to kill themselves no matter what. So it's going to be a very tough situation with them. And they try to get there. And the craziest thing is they go there and we get more like backstory. And I love this part. When they get there, they try to find the tomb and stuff. And they try to get there. His wife does show up a little bit later, but they try to get to there. And then Khonshu comes in, and he's like this. He tells Khonshu, he's like, why don't we just see the gods and prevent? He's like, no, they'll turn me to stone. They kicked me out last time. I got in trouble last time. And now I was wondering, like, what did he do to piss off the gods? And I wanted to see how the gods' personalities are, how they look, their avatars, because they should have some avatars of their own. People were suggesting, speculating that no, since Khonshu and I think it was one other god, they were banished. They're the only ones who have avatars because they need it, whereas the other gods, they don't need avatars because they stay in like the godly dimension, which he was not permitted to go to. But then you see in this episode directly, there are avatars, so that either that was in the comic book and they changed it, or people are just wrong with their speculations and just don't know what they're saying. So yeah, there was that. And then he comes in, he basically brings a bunch of clouds and stuff, he affects the environment, and that was a big no-no for them. They're like, okay, you're coming over here. He gets transported. He says that there's a portal for them all to go and meet in Cairo. He goes through it, and then he's there. Mark is just like confused. He's talking to this lady who is the avatar of Hathor. And I've been watching a lot of Stargate SG-1, and there's a alien character named Hathor in that one, who's a fake comparison of the Egyptian goddess. But yeah, he meets her, and she seems very kind. She seems nice enough, and she's just talking to him about it and explaining it. And this is where we see the meeting of the gods. There's giant statues of the Egyptian gods. They have their own podiums and stuff, and they have all the gods in they have their avatars there, which I found interesting. This is one thing I really do like, and one thing I really loved about this episode. I think this was my favorite part of the episode, was being able to see their other avatars, see how the other gods act, what their thoughts are, talking a little bit more about why he was banished. The only thing I didn't get to see was, I wanted to see how all the gods looked, because Khonshu looks pretty weird and crazy. So I want to see how they looked. I want to see how their avatars looked with their outfits and stuff. I want to see their avatars personalities. Now this built up the world way more, because now I'm intrigued in the other avatars. Obviously, where our main focus is going to be on the Moon Knight one, but I do want to see the other ones and see where they go, how they look. Like it opens up a lot of possibilities for future stories. So if they get future seasons and stuff, and there's bigger threats, we will be seeing probably the other avatars working together, which would be cool. That would be super sick. I would love that. But yeah. They come there, and then their eyes glow, and then they turn into the gods, because the gods possess them. And then they have in the trial, and then Khonshu comes in. And it's funny, because you see the other gods, like Osiris and all these other ones, and when they talk, they seem normal. They're just normal, and they're just talking normally. But when the moment Khonshu comes in, he's being overly dramatic and theatrical. I am a god! He's just yelling. He's like, I am vengeance! I do this! I was like, dude, chill. Everybody else, all the other gods are calm as fuck. They're just regular. They seem like the past as regular people, and then this guy, he's overdoing it. He's playing into this big wild theatrics. So it was funny to see. It was funny, but also it's just come on, dude, you're embarrassing yourself. You just look goofy at this point, because they're all just normal, and he was overdoing. He was really trying to sell the godly image. I think out of them all, he has the most pride when it comes to being a god. He takes his job. He might seem like he doesn't take his job serious as them, but these guys are more passive and not willing to do anything, because he was talking about how they do reveal why they banished him. He said he did it for humanity. He wanted to protect humanity and stuff. And though I do think he is kind of a scumbag, especially last episode, the way he was acting and stuff, and the way he was thinking, he does have this form of way of thinking of humans are just usable creatures to use for his own reasoning. But when they said that and he was talking about it, it did give me more of respect to him. I was like, okay, he might not be the perfect guy, and he might have some stuff where he's willing to do whatever, but he does seem like he cares enough about the humans to stick around. If he didn't give a shit, he wouldn't have wasted his time. He allowed himself to be banished just to help out humanity. All these other gods are just on their asses. I mean, the conversation between them was interesting, because when he said that, he's like, I did this to protect the humans and stuff, and the gods were like, why should we left and stuff, and you broke the rule, and why should we stay here? They don't worship us anymore. Which is kind of so the only reason you will protect humans is that they worship you and don't recognize you. Whereas Khonshu is more we have a job to do, we're gods, we need to do this no matter what. Which, once again, I know a lot of people might give Khonshu crap throughout this show. It is the beginning, but I feel like a lot of people are man, he's a horrible person. But if you think about it, at least he has, he has a sense of pride and duty enough to be like, hey, even if these people are not worshiping me, that's not the point. The point is to be doing my job. I'm a godly being. I'm above them. I should be protecting them. The fact that these guys are like, well, they don't recognize us anymore, so who cares? It's just kind of like a petty, like selfish thing, and they try to make it seem like they're more like contained gods that are controlling, that have better control. But it's just like, you guys are cowards. You guys are hiding back while this guy's like, busting his ass off. So I don't give them any credit anymore. So I was just like, yeah, they might seem more like calm down and natural and like, more preserved compared to Khonshu, but at least Khonshu's willing to bust his ass for the people and even be banished. So they have this whole trial. Then he comes in. I keep on forgetting what the villain's name is. I'm gonna keep on calling him Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke's character comes in. He's like, "Who's this person?" Because Khonshu was explaining to them that there's a guy who's trying to destroy the world and stuff like that, and they're like, "Okay, let's see him." And then he comes in, and he starts telling them. He tells them like half truths. He tells them that he's taking control over a sick person, a person who has mental health problems. True, he has multiple personality disorder. He's using him with his broken mind, and he's basically using him and lying and making all this stuff up. And I didn't do anything. And he's like, I just came to visit, so you're gonna punish everybody that just comes to visit here? And the other guy's like, well, we don't know. And to me, it's like, I didn't expect them to be all knowing, but I expect them to have some form of knowledge. They didn't know jack shit. He told them. Another guy told them. They're like, well, we don't know. And then he comes in, he's like, Khonshu's not to be trusted, he takes advantage of people, he started this stuff, he's trying to do this, and he is telling the truth about the whole Mark stuff and how he's treating him. But then again, Mark, even though he does not like Khonshu and wouldn't mind him to be, in prison like he said, he still understands the importance of his mission, and it's not just because he wants to get done with the Moon Knight job. It's because he sees that if he doesn't stop this guy, he's going to kill a bunch of innocent people, and a ton of people are just going to die. The world's going to be screwed over. So he needs to step in and do something about it. Whether or not he liked Khonshu or his methods, he knows that it's necessary to stop this bigger threat. And the gods, like I said, it's going back and forth for me. Because some parts of them I don't like, but other parts I do think that they're kind of fair, because they want to understand if Khonshu is taking advantage of a human. So they tell him, show Mark, and they're talking to him to see if he's like has any like mental disorders, and he's just like straight up like, yeah, man, it's bad and stuff. Like, it's true, but it's also not. It's like, yes, is it bad? But the threat is bigger, and the other guy's trying to make it seem like he's not a threat. This guy has his own stuff, and he's just taking advantage of it. And it's like, there's half truths in it, but then there's also the manipulation of him trying to protect himself. And the other gods, they seemed concerned, but Hathor, she seemed kind of like sad. She was like, damn, that's kind of messed up. Like, this poor guy actually has some serious problems, and the other dude is legit using him, and the way he's treating him is kind of fucked up too. But yeah, they see this, they're like, okay, you'll be in prison next time you do this. You prove wrong. And then the other guy is just like happy and shit. And I'm just like, this son of a bitch. Like that's the one thing I do like about his character as a villain. He's the best type of villains are the ones that tell the truth but also are manipulative, because he's telling these half truths. And this is like a real thing about any cult leader and stuff. Sometimes these cult leaders, they will manipulate people to believe whatever they want, and to show them that they are not these people that think so much above everybody else. They tell people about their weaknesses and what they've done wrong and stuff, and how they could correct it to basically showcase, kind of make up for it. Also, we do get a revelation for this villain why he's this way. He said Khonshu, when he was his vessel, made him hurt people, and Khonshu enjoyed hurting people, because when Hathor's like, I make music and stuff, and she was like, her vessel was like, her avatar was like, yeah, they were good friends. Like, yeah, he's never said anything about the other gods. He doesn't really like them. She's like, whoa, really? They used to be good friends and stuff. She used to play music for him. He's like, the only music that he listens to is the pain of others, which is funny but messed up, and it makes sense. But yeah, the other guy said that he was torturing, he made him hurt people, and he just enjoyed it, and it made him enjoy it, but he hated himself afterwards and felt corrupted, which I understand, and it makes sense with the other line that Mark said, because Marcus also realizes Khonshu enjoys making people suffer. I mean, he is the god of vengeance and, like, I guess, justice, so it makes sense that he would enjoy this stuff, but he's seeing that it's not just like, punishing the bad, because he's okay with that, but it's the fact that this guy doesn't care at all he has no line that he crosses. So seeing that, I can see where Ethan Hawke's character went to insanity, because not only is he disappointed that he didn't prejudge, but he's also messed up with his mind. So it's kind of Khonshu's fault. Yes, does this guy have responsibilities for his own actions? True. But Khonshu, if he did not mess up with this guy so much, and if he wasn't such a tool, this wouldn't have happened. So we had that. I thought that was an interesting dialogue. And then we go Hathor's avatar goes back to normal. She seems like she cares. She seems like she'll be a more helpful avatar slash goddess. And she comes in, she tells him like, oh, there's another guy that you can go find the stuff, to find the body, to, get it. And he's like, thank you. I was like, okay, that's good. So he comes out, his wife is there, then now he's going on the adventure with his wife. She's mad at him, obviously. She's like disappointed that he wants to leave her and stuff. And you can see deep down he doesn't want to leave her, but this life for him right now, he's in a situation where he has no other choice. He has to accept his role is, and it's hard for him to deal with her with this role. And she's like, you lied to me and stuff like that. And they had that. So then they go to the museum stuff to check it out, the tomb and stuff. They go to this one guy that they introduced, and he has the tomb. They're checking the sarcophagus, they're checking the coding of it. They're like, oh, let's see the description and the coding for the the tomb and stuff. And Steve just chime in, and he's like, oh, this is a code, and he can decipher it. And so she has to leave him there for a bit. But then the other guy comes back, Ethan Hawke's character comes there, and he tries to get the guy inside. He's like, oh, you can't trust them, they're bad people, this and that. And then the guy's like, really, and stuff. And he's showing him the power of Ahmed, and he's getting the guy on his side, and he does. And then he starts some shit, and he basically he destroys the sarcophagus stuff, and then he leaves. And then now they're fighting against these guys. The guy's fighting against his henchmen. His wife is shooting some of the guys off, so she's having her own fight. Then she fights one of his top security dude, and it's kind of like she's struggling, she's getting back and forth fight. And then he turns into his Moon Knight stuff, and he's beating the crap out of these guys. He's like beating the crap out of himself. And then the funny thing is, because Steve earlier, they were trying to check out the stuff, but he wouldn't let him out. He's like, no, I'm not letting him out. So then he's in the middle of the fight, and Steve's like, let me out. And Steve literally gets out, and it changes the suit instantly, which I love. I love that these different personalities are having their own suits, Moon Knight costumes, which is just such a cool... it's cool, and it's a cool way to because in the regular stuff you can see the personality. This one, like, it just shows it visually. But yeah, also, like, Steven, he's just so funny, because the moment he comes in, he's just so comedic, and he's getting stabbed, and he's like, okay, you can have it. He just leaves and lets him have it, and he's in a bad position, and his wife basically takes out the guy, stabs him with this like weird necklace thingy, and now this guy, she shoots this guy off, and then the other dude's about to come and like hit her over with the horse, and Mark, you can see he really cares about her, so he breaks out of it and breaks out of the spears, kills them all instantly, grabs her, then he throws one of his crescents at the guy's back, kills him. Now there was action, there was killing, they're showing killing, but I still feel like a lot of fans are going to complain about it. It's not violent enough, it's not bloody enough, it's not gory enough. It doesn't need to be on the level of, shows like The Boys and stuff. People are always like, well, it needs to be super grotesque. It can be or it cannot be. It really depends on how it handles the story. If it hinders the story, I can get why you would be mad. But if it doesn't, there's no reason to complain about it. The action was good enough and the fighting was good enough. Also, people saying the CGI is not that great. I'm like, dude, are you kidding? After watching any show on the CW or on Fox, you can't complain about this show's CGI. Look at the fucking DC shows on the Arrowverse and stuff, the Flash and stuff. That is shitty CGI. This CGI is a masterpiece compared to that. So don't even if people can watch those shit shows and watch that terrible, CGI and not have too much of a problem with it, you can't be shitting on this show with its already amazing, CGI. So he takes his guy out. Then they're checking the puzzle. His wife's like, you should change into him, change into Mark. He knows how to read these stuff, and he'll be better. And he doesn't want to, but he obliges. He does that. He finds it out. Mark comes in. You can tell that his wife also kind of likes Steven a lot, because his interests are basically similar with her. He knows different languages like her, like French. he kind of has a similar accent. He also loves like history, archaeological findings, these godly stuff. So he basically does what she likes. It's just that he has more knowledge in those departments, and you can see she genuinely not only respects him, but actually genuinely likes him as a person. Steven, I don't know, I wouldn't say she likes him more than Mark, but I feel like she connects far more with his Steven personality than she does with his Mark side. So he finds the map, and there's like a constellation on it, and he's like, constellation for Orion. She's like, oh, but let's look for it right here. And he tells her, no, you can't do that, because this was thousands of years ago. The moon, the night sky moves around every time, and this is true. We've seen this in if you ever watched Dr. Stone. I forgot what's the main characters of that show's name. Damn it, sorry, I forgot. But yeah, in that one he also mentions the moon goes over, because it was like 1,000 years in the future. He gets frozen. He gets put in prison in stone for 1,000 years, and then he sees that. So yeah, he says that Khonshu says he could turn back the night sky to that, instead of him just putting up a visual like like a holographic thing, like a visual of how the night sky looked like before. He's literally rewinding the universe's positioning, so it's going to be exactly matched up with that, because he says he remembers every night, which is crazy. It shows his godly godly powers, that he can remember stuff from that far back. But then he's like, yeah, I can do this, but I will get in trouble and they will banish me. This is him in a controlled state. I want to see how he is when he's fully powered out and not being held back by the gods. He probably would be insanely powerful. But yeah, he says he needs Steven's help. Steven is doing it with his suit, and then he's also doing it. So they're rewinding the time. You see these big purple circular things coming out into the globe, and this was such cool visuals. It looked so amazing. It looked cool, and it was just amazing that the fact, for two reasons. One, the visuals. Two, the power. The fact that I didn't know that he had that much power, that he could literally reset and rewind the skies back to thousands of years ago. That is just insane. And usually when it comes to live action characters, they're not as powerful as the comic book counterparts, but this was insanely powerful. Also, it further shows that before I go on to further, I forgot to mention that Mark in his avatar, in his Moon Knight suit, does some cool stuff. First of all, he takes stabbing multiple times and it feels like nothing to him. So he has severe he has powers in it, not just super strength and speed, but he also has durability, and he can regenerate, and he doesn't feel pain. And then when they shot at him, they're trying to shoot at his wife. He puts his cape around her and he literally blocks the bullets. And he's holding the bullets in his cape, and I'm just like, this is so badass, because Batman's cape sometimes it can block bullets and stuff, but this one literally is blocking bullets. And I was like, it would be so cool if he just flicks his cape and then sends the bullets flying. And he literally does that. He turns around, throws it hits them all, and it kills them. And I was like, that's so badass. That's so cool. I love that. So yeah, I know I got sidetracked, but yeah, we're going back to the Mark stuff. They're resetting it, and at this point, Khonshu is turning to stone. Khonshu does tell Steven, like, hey, look, tell Mark to free me out of the imprisonment when it happens. So he's like, yeah, it's gonna suck. I'm gonna be in prison, but I do. But they need me to come out. So he's gonna definitely, have Mark bring me back out anyway. So that's gonna be good. Yeah, they reset it. He's going away, and then Steven has to do it. But then he gets it, and she gets the exact coordinates for where they need to go, and that's when they start to, try to go to the place. I forgot if there was anything else that happened after. Oh yeah, the other guy, Ethan Hawke's character, comes to talk shit to Khonshu's Khonshu, because he was in prison in Stone, and he's like, yeah, you're not gonna get this power, this and that. He was talking down to him, so he was going crazy with that. So yeah, his plans coming in motion. They got some stuff. They at least got some stuff to combat him, but I don't think it's enough to beat him at this point. They need to think of a better strategy. But yeah, like I said, I do like the first episode still the most, but I do like all these other episodes. I like they have different vibes and feelings, and I like the action in this. I like the fighting in this. I do like the backstory more about Khonshu, and it was cool to see the gods, the avatars, how they act, how he acts compared to them, why he was kind of banished. We don't know the full story, but we do understand quite a bit of it. We understood more of the villain and why he's the way he is. And to be honest, like I said, I still blame him for his own actions, but a part of me is like, it's Khonshu's fault. Khonshu started this. If he handled these situations better, if he stopped using people as puppets and also chose better, people that would be mentally fit for this, he wouldn't have these problems. But he doesn't care. He's kind of a bad person. So, that's where his dishumanity. So yeah, like he does that, and it's like you started this. You can blame him as much as you want, which it is his fault to a certain degree, but you had such a big hand in it, from the selecting process to showing him this world to giving them that power, to the third thing, treating him like that and acting that way, which basically led him into the hands of an evil goddess who's crazy and stuff. So it's like it's all his fault on that one. And the Steven Mark dynamic, I do enjoy it sometimes, but I do think Steven can be annoying when he pops into the middle, like he's in the middle of the fight. I'm like, bro, he has this handle. He got us covered. And he's like, let me fight. He's like a little kid, wanting to play a video game with his older brother. He's like, let me play the game. Let me play on the controller. Let me play. And just like, oh, no. And he's like, okay, fine. It's like that. And it's just like, dude, you have no place in this. Obviously, his other persona, Steven, is going to have to be fighting because we see that costume. They want to give him his own costume just for him to show up once in a while. He's going to have to be fighting. But right now, he's not well prepared for a situation like this. This is more for, Moon Knight, Mark. So, for me, like I said, I like that first episode more, but I do love this episode. I love the direction they're going in. I love the stuff they showed, especially the build-up for the future, because I want to learn more about this villain. I want to learn more about Khonshu, what happened with him. I want to learn more about the gods, their avatars. I want to see how the other gods look. I want to see how the other, their avatars, what their costumes look like. One thing I did find interesting was the fact that they can't see or hear other people's gods. They can only see or hear their own, the avatars. I assume that they would have been able to see and hear the other ones. It's just that, they have more of a personal connection. So I thought we were going to see them all, but I guess not. And it still makes it interesting. So I want to see their costumes, how they look. And I just want to see, like, are they going to have any ties into later stories? Because I feel like if they do multiple seasons of the show, let's say, like, it's a regular show, like, where it has, like, 7 or 8 seasons and stuff, and they go down the line, they're going to have to show these guys fighting together. Who knows? They might have, like, godly avatar Avengers, where they have all... there's, like, such a big thread that they have all the the gods have their avatars come together and their costumes fight together against the big thread. That would be so sick. I mean, because, like, you look at Moon Knight, you see how cool he looks. Also, just seeing the costume still now every time, I'm just like... The costume is just so cool. Every time I see these, the costumes look so badass. Like, out of all, I would say out of every, superhero show or movie where we've seen a character with a costume, I would say Moon Knight has the coolest, bar none, has the coolest comic book costume and the greatest, like, comic book accurate costume. Because it looks cool in comics, and it looks cool here. The only other person that I would say is just as close would be Daredevil in the Daredevil series, because when he had the, the red iconic suit and stuff, the helmet, he looks so badass. He looks so cool. But I don't know, like, Moon Knight is just on a different level. So yeah, I want to learn about the other gods, how they act. I really like the characters in this show. There's no character that I see I'm just like, this is an annoying character. Like, I like all the characters. I like Mark. I like Steven. I like Mark's wife. I like Ethan Hawke's character. He's a pretty good villain. I want to see more about him. I love Khonshu. These new avatars, they seem quite interesting. I just want to know more about them, especially Hathor's one. She seemed very friendly, and she seemed like very helpful too, because the other guys, even when they said no, she's just like, hey, look, here's some little help if this is the case, because it just felt weird to me that these guys are godly beings, but they don't know what the hell's happening. Like, you don't even know these threats, and you don't want to even investigate it. You're asking this guy, like, obviously he's gonna be lying and putting himself in the best looking position. Shouldn't you guys be, like, investigating it? But I guess they don't care enough about the moral, since they don't praise them 24/7, whatever. But yeah, I felt this is enjoyable. I think I'm gonna love this season. I think I'm gonna love this show in general. People might not like it. People might bash it because, it's Marvel and this and that. I love it. I think it's great. If this is any sign of how Marvel handles this, I'm going to be very excited for how they handle, bringing back Daredevil and Punisher and stuff. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'm gonna keep on making reviews for this videos. I just hope you guys keep on viewing more. I have seen just a bit of views for it. I was hoping that you guys could view it more, like it more, share this video around to other people who want to see about it, because I do put a lot of afterthought when I watch these videos, and when I watch the episodes and when I do these reviews on them. So yeah, thanks and have a good day.